Underwater bottle recovery, New York, New York, America. I've been an avid swimmer and diver ever since I was in my late teens. As I got into various jobs out of high school, I never lost my enthusiasm for diving. So when I had an opportunity to apply for a law enforcement related diving job, I jumped for it. Not a lot of people are interested in a job that involves feeling around at the bottom of muddy lakes and streams for dead bodies. But I figured if it involved diving, I may as well put my hobby to good use. In the diving academy where I had to go no matter how much experience I had, they taught us techniques for how to find things you're searching for underwater. It's not always bodies, you understand. Sometimes it's guns or stolen property or cars. They taught us about currents and eddies and all those things that can affect where something will end up underwater. One of the trainees asked a question one day while we were preparing to get into our diving pool. He asked the instructor if it wasn't creepy underwater, with zero visibility touching everything to see if it was a dead corpse. The instructor seemed a little amused, and yet he had a strange look on his face. "You don't know the half of it," he said. "We're dealing with people's fathers and brothers and sons down there, and we're always respectful and do our jobs with professionalism. When you're out there on the job, no matter what happens, you be just that, respectful and professional." The way he said it was odd, like there was something he wanted to get across to us but wasn't going to come right out and say it. What could I do? I shrugged it off and let myself fall backwards into a pool. Later in the year, I was on the job. It was all routine for days. Then we got a call for a missing person, and we were to search the bottom of a large pond. 3 of us were going into the water with support personnel above. The officer assigned to give me my on-the-job training checked my equipment and guidelines. He knew this was my first body search, and though I tried to look confident and like I wasn't nervous, he mustn't know my true feelings. He took me a few steps off the side. "Look," he told me, "there are things they don't teach you in school. If there's a girl down there, we'll find her. Don't worry about the mud and the lack of visibility. Just stick close to me and learn, my friend." He slapped me on the shoulder, and we were into the water. I was used to zero visibility. We had dived in our indoor pool with no lights on many times. Guidelines to the boats helped to keep us oriented as to direction, and I kept one hand on my training officer's tank harness. I noticed after a while that he did not seem to be hugging the bottom, feeling around for arms and legs. Though I couldn't see, I had the distinct impression he was intentionally swimming a couple of feet above the bottom, and I couldn't detect movement showing he was feeling around. I tried to feel around though. My left hand and arm were constantly sweeping while I hung on tight with my right. I could tell he was running a good grid pattern, not missing any territory, covering an area thoroughly before moving to the next. What I didn't understand, unless I was just wrong, was why he would go back over the same area again several minutes later. Wasn't that a waste of time? And then I felt something. Was it a fish? The back of my hand hit something as I was waving it about. I reached back again, and then it happened. Something latched onto my left wrist with all its might. At first I thought it was the third diver, playing a joke on me. Then to my horror, I realized it was not. This was a hand all right, but it was cold and hard and held me in a death grip. I panicked, I admit it. I let go of my training officer and flipped over on my back and started thrashing with my free arm and both legs. I lost my breathing apparatus. All I wanted to do was rid myself of this thing hanging onto me. And it did let go. Before I could break free to the top and get some air and scream, my training officer grabbed back onto me. He quickly found and shoved my regulator into my mouth, and he wouldn't let me go until I quit thrashing, trying to get topside. When I calmed down, he made me grab onto this harness. Then he circled around until he found what had grabbed onto me, the dead woman's corpse, which wasn't on the bottom but was floating a few feet above. Then we did our standard work, securing the body and getting her to the boat. On shore, this is what he told me. "That woman did not grab your wrist. We swam around, stirred things up, got her body to float up off the bottom so we could find her easier. Your wrist happened to hit her hand just right and you snagged her. That's all." And then he told me the thing that no one talks about. He said, "And the next time the same thing happens to you, you remember what I told you." And I have 4 times now.